Good morning, everyone. My name is Georgia, and I was recently accepted to the Disney College program. So I have had a channel on YouTube for a while, but I decided to start doing Disney-related videos. I watched tons of Disney vloggers when I was applying for the program, and that really helped me. This was my third time applying, and I found out in September that I was accepted for the spring 2020 program. And so I thought that I would share a little bit of my experience and my tips and tricks to help all of you that are going through the same thing right now. Doesn't matter if you're applying for fall of 2020 or spring of 2025. Hopefully most of my tips and tricks are pretty evergreen. This video is going to be specifically about the application process. If you are interested in learning more about the web-based interview or phone interview, those are going to be in my next two videos, so make sure that you like, subscribe, and hit that little notification bell. That will tell you when I've posted those next two videos, and hopefully those tips will help you in your application process. I successfully got in, like I said, on my third try this time, and I also successfully coached my boyfriend into getting into the program on his first time applying, and a few other people as well. So hopefully that my tips are helpful to you in your Disney journey. Let's get started. When you are going to apply for the Disney College program, you're going to want to go onto their website, which I'm sure if you're watching this video, you already have accessed their website, and either make an account if you haven't already, or if you're like me and this is your third or fourth time applying, you might already have an account, so you will want to go ahead and log in on there. And then you're going to click Apply Now. The application is pretty quick and easy. It only took me about 30 minutes to do. And if you've applied before, they might already have some of your information saved from previous seasons. So you'll want to go through and double check that that information hasn't changed, addresses, phone numbers, anything like that, name changes if you have recently gotten married or anything like that. So you'll want to go through and double check that information, or go ahead and put that information in if you're a new applicant. Once you've gotten through all of your basic information, they are going to ask you what positions and which parks you're interested in. So for me, I applied for both Disneyland in California and Walt Disney World in Florida. Both of those have pretty similar roles. There's a few differences, but it's pretty similar. And you go ahead and check any of the roles that you're interested in. There's an option to view the descriptions of each of those roles right on the website. And I would suggest, even if you have just a tiny little bit of interest, like you wouldn't mind doing it, but it's not your top choice, still put interest in it. If you only put interest in one or two roles, by the time they get to your application, those roles might already be filled up. And so you don't want to risk losing a role at Disney just because you were only open to one or two of the roles. So even if you don't really want to do quick service food and beverage, but you would be okay doing it, still put interest in that. So I think I put interest in all of the roles except for a small handful. For example, I don't have any experience doing hair or makeup, so I did not put any interest in the Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique. That's just not something that I would be cut out for. I would not do a good job. And so I put no interest in the Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique, but I put high interest in almost everything else. Once you've gone through and picked those, it will ask you for your job history. Now, Disney knows that as college students or very recent graduates, you probably haven't had many full-time jobs, if any full-time jobs, so they expect that your job history is going to be things like working at Starbucks, working as a lifeguard. For Disney, that's what they're looking for. And so that is totally fine. Don't feel like you need to be 5 years into your human resources career or anything like that. Disney knows that most of your job experience is going to be waitressing or babysitting, things like that. So Disney allows you to put in 5 things in your job history. So if you have more jobs than that, like for example, when I was applying, I had 7 jobs and I was currently working in a job. So I'd had 8 jobs total. So I kind of had to whittle down my list and figure out exactly what it was that would be the best for this application for me. If you've had less than 5 jobs, that's totally fine. There are some other things that might count like community service, volunteer experience, things like that, you can still put those if you've only had maybe 1 or 2 jobs. So if you have done something like that, like maybe volunteered at your church or something like that, I would still put that down because that's good experience, relevant experience, and Disney likes to see that. So when you are going through, the first tip is to be as accurate and specific as possible. So instead of, say, just putting lifeguard, if you were the head lifeguard, put that you were the head lifeguard. If you were trained through Red Cross or through Ellis, put that you were trained through those people. Put as many details and be as specific as possible. So I would recommend using very punchy words, very specific words, words that are related to Disney. So for example, if you were a lifeguard like I was in high school for 4 years, definitely in your job description, use the word children. Of course, we all know that Disney is no stranger to working with children. If you're working at the Disney parks, one of the main demographics of people that you'll be working with is children. And so if you were a babysitter, if you were a lifeguard, if you were a nanny, if you volunteered at your church nursery, all of those things, if you were a swim instructor, anywhere where you would be working with children, you want to really emphasize and highlight the fact that you worked with children. Another tip for writing your application job descriptions is to avoid any sort of word that might have a negative connotation. So Disney does this a lot. People who work for Disney will know that you would never call somebody a customer at Disney World. You would always call them a guest. So you can do this too in your job description. Even if you didn't call them guests when you were a Starbucks barista, you can still use the word guest instead of customer if you're describing a certain situation in your job description. Same thing goes for the word employee. Disney, I'm sure it's no surprise, doesn't really like the word employee. We are called cast members. So if you want to make sure to use positive connotation in all of your words, you might not want to use the word cast member, but instead you could just be specific and say, I was a lifeguard instead of I was an employee at a pool, or I was a Starbucks barista instead of a Starbucks employee. All of those sorts of things are gonna look a lot better to the computer, and they'll highlight those words and pull those words out. Another tip is just to make sure to apply early rather than later. You don't have to apply on the first day necessarily. I applied on the 4th day that applications were open, and that was fine. I was still accepted. But it is a rolling acceptance with the Disney College program. So if you apply on the first day, you might be accepted on the 2nd week that applications are open when there are still lots of people applying. So people who apply closer to the date that it closes, a lot of those roles that you might have wanted, like being a lifeguard or working for attractions, anything like that, those might already be filled up, especially for those ones that haven't as many roles. There's tons and tons of roles available for attractions, lifeguarding, custodial, quick service food and beverage, but some of those ones like working at the monorail or PhotoPass photographer, Bibbidi Boppidi Boutique, those ones, there's a very limited amount of spots. So if they already have filled up those roles with people who applied at the beginning, then you are just already out of consideration for those roles by the time you apply if you apply late. So make sure before applications open you have all of your materials ready. Anything that you might need, such as former employers' names and numbers, you might want to include those. The dates that you were employed at those places, you'll want to include that in your application. Make sure you have all that ready from the get-go so that on the day that applications are opening, you're not scrambling to go find all of that stuff and applying late. Now, if you do apply late, if you're just now seeing this and you're like, oh, maybe I do want to do the program, it's not too late. Applications are still on a rolling acceptance. You don't have to apply on the day that they open. There are lots and lots of people that apply on the very last day that applications are open and do get a role. So don't feel discouraged if you're just now seeing the video or just now learning about the program. It's not too late for you. You can still apply. And the most exciting part is that you can apply as many times as you want up until you are 12 months out from graduation. And so that's another thing. If you are not in college anymore, you are graduated from college, you're in luck. I am also graduated from college. I graduated in August of 2019. Disney does accept postgraduate members as long as you are less than 12 months out from your graduation at the time that you apply. So for example, I graduated in August of 2019, and I also applied in August of 2019. There were other people who graduated in May of 2019 and applied in August of 2019. That's fine, even though their program might end in June or July of 2020, which is more than a year out from their graduation, they applied less than a year out from their graduation. So they are totally eligible to do the program. The last tip, and one of the most important tips, and this goes for the whole application process, that means the web-based interview and the phone interview too, is do not lie to Disney. They will find out. They have eyes and ears everywhere. Don't even try to get away with lying to Disney because they will figure it out. So that means don't tell them that you have less tattoos than you really do when you're doing your phone interview. If you have tattoos, tell them about them. Piercings, tell them about them. Don't try to say that you had a position at a company that you didn't. Don't try to make your job sound better than it was or more glamorous than it was. There are, of course, little ways, just like any resume, where you can, make yourself sound good, use good word choice, and be really descriptive and really specific and things like that. But don't try to get away with lying to Disney. Trust me, it will not work. You will get terminated from your position or you won't be hired at all. And in really extreme circumstances, they might not ever let you apply again. And so you could lose your position at Disney indefinitely. So don't try to get away with lying to Disney. It won't work. Once you've submitted your application to Disney, it is completely in their hands. You have nothing else that you have to do once you hit submit. So you will hear back from Disney as soon as they review your application, and you will get one of two emails. One of them will say you are no longer in consideration for a position with the Disney College program for this semester. Please apply next semester. Or you could get an email saying, congratulations, you are moving on to the web-based interview. They will give you a link. You can open that link at any time. You can take it at 3 o'clock in the morning if you want to. And that takes about 30 minutes. And so that would mean that you're moving on to the second round, which is what the next video will be about. Some people hear back from Disney. I heard back in 15 minutes. I just so happened to apply while they were going through them. Some people it takes 2 weeks, some people it takes 2 months. So don't freak out if you haven't heard back from Disney right away. Until you get the email saying you are no longer in consideration, you are still in consideration. In order to check, maybe the emails went to spam or something like that, you log in on the same website, the Disney College Program website, and you will click View My Dashboard. And the dashboard will come up and it has 5 steps on it. So it will show you if you are in what we call AR, application is being reviewed. You might be on the web-based interview step. You might be on the phone interview step. And then you might be accepted. Good luck with your applications. I hope to see you guys soon when I post the next video about web-based interviews. We will get into the nitty-gritty of how to make sure that the computer loves your web-based interview, because that is another one that is not read by human eyes, it's read by a computer. All right, thank you guys. Bye.